Speed has always been something humans chase, and cars show that more than anything else. In the early days of driving, cars could barely reach 20 miles per hour, but today we have machines that cruise at more than 200 miles per hour without struggling. Even with all this progress, there is a point where everything becomes extremely difficult. That point is around 300 miles per hour. At first, it might seem like you only need a bigger engine or more horsepower, but the truth is much more complicated. Once a car gets close to 300 miles per hour, the rules of physics start fighting back hard, and every part of the car works under extreme pressure. The first big problem is aerodynamic drag. At low speeds, drag doesn't feel like a big deal. A car can move forward without the air pushing too strongly against it. But as the speed rises, drag doesn't increase in a normal or simple way. Instead, it gets exponentially stronger. This means that even if you double the speed, the air resistance becomes 4 times heavier. At 300 miles per hour, the air feels like a giant invisible wall pushing with thousands of pounds of force against the car's front. To break through that, the engine needs to produce an enormous amount of power. At normal highway speed, a car might use only a few dozen horsepower to fight against drag, but at extreme speeds, even huge engines struggle. This is why cars that reach for 300 miles per hour often need more than 1,500 horsepower just to push through the air. Drag becomes the enemy that never stops growing stronger the faster you go. But power alone cannot solve everything. Even if a car has enough horsepower to fight the drag, it still has to stay on the ground, and that brings us to the next challenge: aerodynamic stability. At 300 miles per hour, a car behaves almost like an airplane that refuses to take off. The shape of the car and the air moving around it can easily create lift. If there is even a small mistake in the design, like a front splitter that is not shaped right or a little change in the airflow underneath the car, the air can lift the car off the road. A small crosswind could push the car sideways or tilt it in a dangerous way. Once a car experiences lift at that speed, it is no longer driving, it is losing control, and a crash becomes almost impossible to avoid. Because of this, designers spend years shaping the body of the car in wind tunnels. They add splitters, diffusers, spoilers, and even active aerodynamics to keep the car tightly pressed to the road. However, this leads to another struggle. The parts that add stability also add more drag, and more drag makes it even harder for the car to reach higher speeds. So engineers must always balance speed and stability, making sure the car stays safe without slowing it down too much. The closer they get to 300 miles per hour, the harder that balance becomes. Then there is the challenge with the tires, which is something many people don't think about. Tires are the only part of the car that touches the road, and at extreme speeds, they face unbelievable stress. At 300 miles per hour, a tire spins more than 2,500 times every minute. The force pulling outward on the rubber becomes so strong that normal tires would tear themselves apart in just a few seconds. Because of this, companies must create special tires made with strong materials like carbon fiber and Kevlar. These tires are tested under extreme conditions, and every single one must be checked carefully. For example, when Bugatti prepared the Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus for its record run, engineers worked with Michelin to make custom tires. Each tire was even X-rayed to look for tiny flaws that could cause a blowout at those speeds. A small internal weakness could lead to a disaster, so no risks can be taken. These 3 major problems, aerodynamic drag, aerodynamic stability, and the extreme stress on tires, show why going 300 miles per hour is not just about power. Every part of the car must handle forces far beyond normal driving, and even the smallest detail matters. As we move deeper into this journey of understanding why 300 miles per hour is such a difficult speed to reach, we now arrive at the final set of challenges. These last pieces show even more clearly why only a few cars in history have ever come close to touching this unbelievable mark. One of the biggest challenges waiting at the end is something people often overlook: the cost of pushing for more speed. When you move past 250 miles per hour and enter the zone near 300 miles per hour, the rules of progress change completely. Every single improvement becomes harder, more expensive, and far more complicated. Engineers and designers cannot simply upgrade a few parts or increase the horsepower and expect the car to go faster. Instead, they have to create brand new solutions for every tiny problem. The closer a car gets to 300 miles per hour, the more power it needs. But that power is not easy to find. Engines must be redesigned, cooling systems must be stronger, and almost every part of the car must be tested to survive forces that hardly any road vehicle ever experiences. It is here that the idea of diminishing returns becomes very real. At lower speeds, adding more power or improving aerodynamics gives clear results. But when you reach speeds over 250 miles per hour, adding more horsepower stops giving big gains. Instead, 1,000 extra horsepower might give only a few extra miles per hour. The air becomes too thick, the drag becomes too powerful, and every improvement grows smaller and smaller. This shows why the final stretch to 300 miles per hour feels like pushing against a solid wall that does not want to move. But even these companies admit that chasing more speed becomes dangerous, expensive, and extremely complicated. Another important part of this story is the example of Bugatti's Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus. It became the first production car to break the 300 miles per hour barrier in 2019. Even Bugatti themselves said they had no interest in going any faster because the risks and challenges were becoming too great. When a company known for building some of the most powerful and advanced vehicles ever made decides to stop pushing for more speed, it shows just how dangerous and demanding the 300 miles per hour world really is. After seeing all these obstacles, from aerodynamics and stability to mechanical stress, road conditions, human limits, and the huge cost of development, it becomes clear why hitting 300 miles per hour is one of the greatest challenges in all of automotive history. Cars can be improved, engines can be made stronger, and materials can be made tougher. But the laws of physics do not bend. In the end, the story of the 300 miles per hour barrier teaches us something bigger. It shows that speed is not just about power or bragging rights. It is about understanding how the world works and finding ways to solve problems that seemed impossible at first. It proves how far human creativity and engineering can go when people refuse to give up. And even though very few cars will ever reach this incredible speed, the effort to try has pushed technology forward in ways that help all cars become better, faster, and safer. So, even if 300 miles per hour remains one of the most difficult goals to reach, the journey to get there tells us more about human determination than the final number on a speedometer ever could. In the end, the 300 miles per hour barrier reminds us that speed is more than a number. It is a battle against Saint Nature itself, and every attempt to reach it shows how far human courage, creativity, and engineering can truly go. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more amazing car stories.